Gil Weinberg, who you just met, who runs the Center for Music Technology, which was not even in anybody's twinkle of their eye some years ago. But Gil, thank you and your staff for what you do. I want to thank all the dark T-shirts which say Center of Music Technology. They're the graduate students in this program. We don't have a bachelor's degree yet, but we do have a master's and a doctoral degree. We've been recognized internationally, and as I think Frank mentioned at the beginning, we've just been notified that we're going to be in the next edition of Grove's Dictionary, which, if you know anything about music or involved in music, it's the international Bible of music. So I want to thank all of those, and most importantly, I want to thank my wife Margaret, who now is a fellow alumna. Well, it doesn't sound exactly right. I've never shared a bed with an alumnus. I did last night. It was, it's the first time for everything. Thank you all again. Come back next year when I hope, and there are no losers. Everybody is a winner who participates. I'm totally amazed, always, at the ingenuity that someone or somebody thought of something different. They were able to take that thought, translate it into something, and then had the know-how how to build that where it could be presented. That is really what this is all about. And so come back next year and see a most improved over this year. Every year it's gotten better and better. And I suspect there's no limit as to where we can go. Thank you again.
I really want to extend two more thanks. A great thanks to Frank Clark, who you have seen her friends the whole day here. And I really want to thank again all of our graduate students that, again, without them, nothing of this would have happened. Can you please stand up so people can thank you? Thanks again to judges and ask them to say some words. I just want to tell you that when we started the competition, we had it as an open competition without any categories. This year, those who applied may know that we tried to introduce categories, different kind of instruments. But when we got all these applications that were a lot of hybrid instruments, it was very difficult to say what's mobile, what's robotic. Things were mixed together. We decided not to have categories this year. But I'm looking at the finalists, and really we have a very nice combination of with a controller and mobile and augmented instrument and a couple of wearables and a couple of repurposed and the robotic instruments. So basically we almost covered all of the instruments that we wanted to cover. So I was very glad to see the wide variety of instruments. And now I will thanks again to the judges and let them say something.
Okay. Oh, looks like we lost some people. Well, people were obviously here for the music because everyone stayed for the music. They're not too worried about actually who wins. And indeed, what Gil just said about the categories is really what's amazing. Because these are all instruments that defy category. Right? So the diversity of what we had to deal with was enormous and truly impressive. And so for those of you who just come for the final concert, you saw the 8 that we had, the 8 finalists that we had. But for the past 2 days, we had 20, 21. And they were all good because they had been shortlisted from about 75 that were submitted. So all the instruments that were presented were good and different. There were instruments that were allowing non-musicians to become instrumentalists. There were instruments that extended existing instruments. There were instruments that we wondered, are they instruments or are they art pieces? Well, what's great about this competition is that they all qualify, and they all do enter our consideration of then redefining or extending what we might consider to be a musical instrument. So by going out into that diverse realm, we have to come back to that one word, or that one dual word, musical instrument. Say, all right, what have we done here? You know, what is the experience that suddenly is possible? Does it remain tactile? In what way are we extending sonic vocabularies? You know, are we able to control sound in new ways? Are we controlling or are we exploring sound? And again, there wasn't one set of criteria to say, okay, we're going to pick the one that best does this, and that's our politic. In fact, we had to look at the ways that these different instruments did all these things, but not any one instrument did all these things. Each instrument did some of these things very well, and other things in different ways. And from that, to try to pull out the way that the instrument was presented, the way that it was performed, to know that the instrument builder might not be the ultimate user, and from that to understand, to try to understand the potential of the instrument that was presented. That was the challenge and the pleasure that we were confronted with. So what's the common theme that cuts across all these things? Well, music, obviously. But then in what part of music? There's so many different kinds of music already. The styles that we heard today cover the range of styles that I think we're faced with in contemporary society. But within all that, the question of nuance, detail, subtlety is in there. Whether you're playing a tune for the first time, playing a wall of sound, who knows? And somewhere in there to see how the instrument might allow big things to happen, little things to happen, and everything in between was one of the words that we came back to, was nuance. So with that very vague and long preamble, I'll pass that on to someone who has a job in a company who actually has to sell stuff. So he'll get much bit more to the point.
Yeah, you also did great. That was beautiful and very eloquent. I don't really actually feel I need to add too much, but I will. First, I think I really want to acknowledge the music technology department on so many levels. One, for the work they're doing with all of you here, the kind of open-mindedness with which they've kind of embraced all these different types of technology and medium, and their extreme generosity in welcoming us into your community. And we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Guthmans for creating this event. And this event is really important because though it's a competition, and someone's going to come away with first, and someone's going to come away with second, and someone's going to come away with third, ultimately that's all meaningless, because you guys are all really part of this incredible thing that's happening. And I really very honored to be part of it, and honored to see what you guys are producing, and encourage you to keep producing and inventing. And there is really no value except what enriches you as you create these instruments, and what that brings to society at large. And this event is a really, there are a few moments in our society where we can kind of step back and look at the bigger picture and celebrate kind of some of the innovations and this kind of spirit, the artistic spirit that is existing outside of mainstream culture, outside of, the kind of, the things that we're bombarded with every day. For me, it was was a really rich experience because it gave me a second to take a breath, remove myself from my everyday manic life, and once again, think about how blessed we all are to be doing what we are doing, and how important it is for society. On a personal level, it was a really rich experience to meet these two colleagues, and with each instrument that we looked at, it really, from the very get-go, I just started writing, not even so much about that particular instrument, but what is an instrument? What are we doing? And it's really neat to have such a large variety of instruments and then see what is it that is common amongst all these things and what's different. And I think the thing that we all looked for, and the thing I kept coming back to is an instrument, there's an essence in an instrument. And that essence, it can't be quantized at all. It can't even be put into words. But I think that's what we kind of react to in an instrument, and that essence is what the human being connects to when they play that instrument, and that's what makes an instrument so powerful, because it becomes a vessel, and as what you said during our panel about how that instrument becomes part of you, and you become part of that instrument, and I thought it was very profound what you said, that you are a different person, you're a different human being physically because of your relationship with your instrument. So that's what an instrument at its core represents, and there's some fundamental essence, and that's a lot of what we talked about and looked at in these instruments, and you guys have all put your hearts and souls into these things, and it really shows. And so really on the biggest level, before we talk about who came first and second and third, I want to kind of applaud and thank all of you for contributing and bringing your instruments in. I don't know how we're going to do what we're going to do next, but I assume someone will tell us.
We're ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're now going to announce the winners of the Margaret Guthman New Music Instrument Competition. So I'm going to invite Margaret to the stage now to do just that.
The third place winner is Bohan Rajic, and I believe he has a colleague who works with him. I have his name somewhere. Winner
I have three things I want to say. First, thank you all very, very much for coming. It's been fabulous having you here. The second thing I want to say is to all the competitors, I am really sorry you're going to go because I've gotten to love you guys. You're fun, man. You got to come back. And the third is there's more wine left and you can't leave till it's gone. Hooray!